Good morning, children of God. Let us pray. In Jesus' name. Lord, we ask you to please take absolute control. Let your spirit speak through me. Let it not be me, but you, O Lord. Touch our hearts, O Lord. Thank you, God the Father, Yahweh. Thank you, God the Son, Jesus. And thank you, God the Holy Spirit, be present here in Jesus' name. So today we're going to be looking at the story of Samson. You can find this story from the book of Judges, chapter 13, all the way through Judges, chapter 16. And so it came to pass that the people did what was evil in the sight of God, and God gave them into the hands of the Philistines. And because they had done evil. And so the Philistines basically ruled over them. And so it came to pass that there was a couple who had not had any children. In other words, they were barren. And the angel of the Lord visited them and said, listen, God is going to bless you with a child, and God is going to use this child to deliver the people of Israel from the Philistines. And he said, but there are certain rules this child must follow. He must not drink anything out of wine, any product related to wine, and he must not eat anything that's unclean. And also his hair must never be cut. And so they bore the child and they named him Samson. Now Samson grew old and the Lord blessed him. He went to the Philistines and he found a woman whom he actually found desirable and wanted to marry. And so he did marry her. And so while feasting, or I wouldn't say feasting, but while gathering with a bunch of Philistines, after he had wed, he gave them a riddle to solve. And he told them if they could solve the riddle in a period of time, he gave them a certain time frame. If they could solve the riddle in a certain time frame, he was going to give them some gifts. But if they were unable to solve it in that time frame, then they would have to give him some gifts. And so the time frame was about to expire, and the people were still not able to solve the riddle. And so they basically got his wife and threatened to basically kill his wife and hurt her and her family if she wasn't able to get him to divulge the secrets of the meaning of the riddle to them. And so his wife pestered him. And so he did tell his wife what the riddle meant. And once he did this, his wife went over and then disclosed it to the Philistines. And so the Philistines, on the day when on the day of a set, when they were supposed to reveal what the riddle meant, they were able to reveal the riddle. And so Samson was very upset because he knew that they got this information from his wife, and basically they had cheated. So out of his anger, right? And actually it was God that actually empowered him. This was God's way of trying to deliver the people out of the bondage of the Philistines. So he got angry at the Philistines and basically killed 30 of the men and took their garments and then gave it to and gave the garments as gifts to those people for solving the riddle. So basically he killed 30 men basically out of his anger. And so he left. And when he came back, his wife's father married, right, his wife to his best man, so to speak, his best man, right, his companion, his best friend. And so Samson was again upset. He was like, why would you do this? And the father was like, well, I thought you really didn't want her because of what she did, so I married her over. Why don't you consider the younger sister? So Samson was basically really upset about this. And so what he did was he set foxes. You know what a fox is, right? He set foxes' tails on fire and released the foxes so that the foxes actually ran into where the field and where the produce and things like that of the Philistines were. And so of course it burnt a lot of those places and set them ablaze of the Philistines. So when the Philistines were like, who did this? And so they found out it was Samson, and they found out the reason why Samson did this. So in their anger, the Philistines' anger, they then in turn went and burned the Samson's wife and Samson's wife's father, right? And so Samson heard what they did, and he was again enraged. Like, why would they do this? And so Samson again then kills 1,000 of the Philistines. So at this point, like, this is how God is using Samson to basically, start delivering Israel deliver Israel out of the bondage of the Philistines. So following this, Samson then falls in love with a woman whom was named Delilah. And so once the people of the Philistines realized that Samson was in love with Delilah, they went over to meet Delilah and they plotted with Delilah and they told Delilah, listen, if you can find out what is the secret behind Samson's power, right, we will give you we will recompensate you. And I'm guessing it was in monetary terms. They were going to pay her back. And so Delilah began to pester Samson, like, what is your strength? What is the secret of your strength? And basically he lied to her. He said, if you tie me down with a rope, blah, 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 blah. So the people came, so she tied him with a rope, and the people, the Philistines came, but of course he was able to unravel the rope because that was not the truth. And so once Delilah saw this happen, she was like, why do you make me a mockery among my people? You lied to me, telling me that you told me your secret. You tell me you love me, but you didn't tell me the secret. So Samson again tells her, okay, you know what? If you use a rope that has never ever been used before and you tie me with this rope, guess what? You can, that's the secret to my powers. And so again, she ties him with the rope and calls the Philistines to get him. But of course, he frees himself from the Philistines because that was not the secret behind it. And so she continued to pester him, and eventually he told her, he said, if you cut off my hair, I will no longer have any strength or power, and I will be just like a regular man. And so she realized, wow, he told me the secret. And so she went and she lured him to sleep and got someone else to cut off all his hair, and then she tied him down, and then she called for the Philistines to come get him. And so when the Philistines came over to try to get him, he thought he still had his strength, but he was so weak that he was not able to escape. And so they captured him, gouged out his eyes, and tied him and made a mockery of him. They tied him for display. So over time, Samson then, his hair continued to grow back, and then he cried out to God, and he said, God, please, deliver me, and give me strength one more time. So that he was tied between the pillars, right, of a huge place where there were actually a lot of people gathered there. And he said, God, give me strength so that I can actually pull these pillars and crumble this place, right? Give me strength just one last time. And so God answered Samson's prayer, and he got his strength back. And he was tied between two pillars, right? I'm trying to do my hands like that so you can see what I mean. He was tied between two pillars. And so he got his strength back and moved the pillars. And remember, the pillars are what support a building, right? And so he pulled the pillars in, and basically the whole house crumbled in with all the Philistines that were in there and himself. And they all died. And so that's the story of Samson. And it's kind of sad in a way because he does die with the Philistines. He dies with his enemies. And sometimes it's very important for us to be careful and not share the secret. Sometimes what God shares with us is our secret. It's for us to keep and not to share. There are some things God wants us to share, but there are some things that God doesn't want us to share. And sometimes wisdom comes from asking God, can I disclose this information? Also, it's also very important to know who you associate with. You want to be careful not to associate and trust your enemy to the point whereby you're led to your own downfall. So I pray that this word touches your heart, and I pray that the Lord God minister to you in the way only He can. In Jesus' name, amen. And also to me, amen. In Jesus' name.